I have the President on the line, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, welcome to the program. It's great to see you, sir.
Well, thank you. I like Brian. I agree with Brian 100%.
Now, let me talk stimulus. You've offered $1.8 trillion. That's your package. And you said you want to go big. Will you raise your offer above $1.8 trillion?
I would, because, look, this was not caused by our workers and our people. This was caused by China. And China will pay us back in one form or another. And the money's coming back anyway. I would, absolutely I would. I would pay more. I would go higher.
Would you call
Go big or go home. I said it yesterday. Go big or go home. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to give anything. She thinks it helps her with the election. And I don't think so. I think it hurts her with the election because everyone knows she's holding it up. We're not holding it up. She's holding it up.
Would you pick up the phone and call Speaker Pelosi with a higher offer?
Sure, I would. But it's, I know my people. I know life. She's got a lot of problems. She's got a lot of mental problems. And it's going to be very hard to do anything with her. She wants to wait till after the election. She thinks it hurts the Republicans. And I don't. I think it hurts them. But and we're doing well. I think we're going to have a fantastic third quarter. The numbers are going to come out right before the election. But it's not fair. You look at the airlines, and we've got a lot of money sitting here that we can do. All we need is a vote. It's not even new money. It's sitting here, billions sitting here waiting to go.
She doesn't
want to do anything.
And packages for the,
Steve has not been successful in convincing her to do it, and that's, it's okay.
Can you do a separate stimulus, like just for the airlines or hotels?
Well, I'd like to take the money that's here, and we're looking at that, take the money that we already have and use it in some form and not have to go through the craziness of the radical left, because we're dealing with radical left people. They've lost their minds.
At this point, do you expect to get a stimulus package of any kind before
I
the
think
election?
There's a chance. I do, because I think there's a lot of pressure on Pelosi. They have a lot of sane people in the Democrat Party, and I really think that at some point she might very well say, hey, look, I got to do this. They've got a lot of pressure on them. The Republicans are willing to do it. I'd like to see more money because it comes back. It's going to come back anyway.
So you're
and we're going to take
it
from China. I'll tell you right now. It's coming out of China. They're the ones that caused this problem.
How is it going to work then? How would it work? If they are responsible for it, they've caused it, how will you get money out of them to compensate?
Well, there's a lot of ways, okay? There's a lot of ways, and I'll figure every one of them out. I already have them figured out. We've taken billions and billions of dollars over the last couple of years for China. I gave $28 billion to the farmers because they were targeted by China. Put a lot of money into the Treasury. And China paid for it. They devalued their currency. So they paid. A lot of people like to say, oh, but China didn't pay. Well, China did pay, actually. They devalued their currency, and they pumped more money in.
You sound well and feisty, Mr. President.
Not acceptable. And the world, not acceptable.
You sound well and feisty. You feeling okay?
I feel good. Yeah, I went through the process. We got to do it. Do it, right? Some things you have to do. And that's the way it is. And they ought to open up the states. That's the other thing with the Democrats. Maybe more important, open up the states. We're winning a lot of lawsuits about that. Michigan, she has to open up. She wants to be a dictator in Michigan. And the people can't stand her. And they want to get back, and they want to get back to work. And so Michigan, we won. Pennsylvania, we won. You look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina's moving along. They got to open them up. They'll open them up on November 4th. They're only doing it for politics.
Okay.
But the schools have to open. The businesses have to open. Despite that, we're going to have a great third quarter.
Now, we've been reporting this second wave in Europe, and it is quite dramatic. And they've engaged in a new series of lockdowns in various countries, London, Paris, and France, and England, Northern, et cetera, et cetera. What happens if you get a big spike in cases in the United States and cases are rising? What would you do here?
We're not doing any more lockdowns, and we're doing fine. We had Florida. We had a spike, and the governor did a great job, DeSantis. And we had a spike in Arizona. The governor did a great job. Spike in Texas. They're down very low now, and we're not doing any shutdowns. No, we learned about the disease. Young people, 99.9%, right? They're in great shape, strong immune systems. The younger, the better. It's hard to believe. But like Barron, my son had it. It was like He had it. It was gone. It was. We said, "Wow, that was quick." You know.
He's
They have
okay
good,
now?
strong immune systems. Say it.
Barron is okay now?
Barron's great. Yeah, he had it though. You know, we reported it the other day.
And the first lady?
And he went very quickly. He just, you know, he's young and he's strong, and you know, it's like different than if you're an older person and you weigh a little too much and you have bad hearts and bad other things. Diabetes is very bad. Okay. It sort of this horrible disease hits those people hard. I lost 5 friends. But we also now have, you know, the vaccines are coming out, but we have therapeutics. It's really amazing, actually.
Are you tested every day?
Say it? What?
Are you tested every day?
I'm tested, not every day, but I'm tested a lot. I was really tested a lot after I got rid of it because they wanted to make sure, and I was tested a lot. I said, how many tests do I have to take? But the doctors did a great job. Regeneron is a great company. It's amazing. I think it really helped me, and I viewed it as a cure, not as a therapeutic. You know, they call it a therapeutic. I think it was a cure. And maybe I would have been, you know, better without something. I don't know, but I can tell you, Regeneron, I took it, and I think it was fantastic. The antibodies. So all I know is I was in, and, you know, I didn't exactly feel great. I haven't been sick in a long time. I didn't feel great. And within a day, I felt like Superman. I wanted to get out. So it was great.
You really want to open up the economy in the United States. But
yeah, I do.
But the lockdowns are the result of state action. It will be the Democrat governors of California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Well, they're doing it for political reasons.
Yeah, but they're
and there are places that have done badly. You know, New York has been the worst in the whole country. 40,000 deaths. New York has done very badly. He's done a bad job, really bad job. Cuomo. Then he writes books like he's supposed to be doing a good job. We had more deaths. If you take New York in a couple of places, I mean, you look at our numbers, are incredible. But you take New York out, we have numbers that nobody can even compete with it. New York, a couple of places. No, New York, what he's done with the nursing homes is so sad to see. At least 11,000 people dead that shouldn't be. And I gave him a ship, and I gave him a convention center, 2,800 beds, and he never used it. I said, why don't you move people into the Javits Convention Center? He never did it. He just was incompetent. Something happened. They're incompetent, and they didn't do it. He didn't know what he was doing.
Can I move on to Hunter?
And he wanted it so badly. He wanted the Javits Center. We went in, the Army Corps of Engineers, Stuart, built it so well and so fast, and then he never used it. You know, it's very sad.
Can I move on to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden? We've got this New York Post article yesterday linking Hunter Biden to Joe Biden to a Burisma official. And today you've got a link between the Bidens and China, alleging that the Bidens took millions from China. And yet the media is not covering this at all, and social media is blocking coverage. How can you get the word out there? And you cannot be.
Joe Biden
sure
is a totally corrupt politician.
Can you
he has been all his life.
Sorry, Mr.
He has been all his life, Stuart. He's a corrupt politician.
Can you be sure that it's not a setup?
Oh, I don't know what setup is. Look, they have the guy's laptop. Hey, Hunter was a disaster. Hunter didn't have a job. Hunter got thrown out of the military. You know why he got thrown out, okay? He was thrown out of the military, didn't have a job, didn't have anything. His father becomes VP, and then Hunter starts making millions and millions of dollars a year. And the father gets some of that, too, okay? You check him out. If he went through a Mueller investigation like I did, they would have found, how about me? I go through a Mueller investigation, $48 million, no collusion, no nothing. Put him through a Mueller investigation. They'd find, in day one, 24 hours, they'd find out. Look at the way he lives, Joe Biden. And take a look at his brother. His brother building a development in Iraq he never built before, a big one. The whole thing is insane. But Joe Biden is a corrupt politician. I've been saying it for a long time, and everybody in Washington knows it. And the mainstream media doesn't want to cover it. They put the story on page A17 of the New York Times, and they took a lot of the teeth out of it. Okay. A17.
Well,
this is a front-page story. He's a corrupt politician.
Social media has blocked Press Secretary Kelly McEnany from reporting this and tweeting about it, and yet the chief executives of these big social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, and Google, they'll be appearing before Congress on October the 28th, before the election. Are you going to press them to have their liability imposed upon them for what they publish, make them into
publishers? Well, if you get rid of Section 230, that's the end of them.
Is that what you want?
We are looking at a lot of things, yeah. When they take down a Kayleigh McEnany, who's just an honorable, you know her very well, she's an incredible person. When they start doing that, when they don't want to put up the Biden story, when they write a story like in the Washington Post today, they wrote a story that Joe Biden, listen to this, that Joe Biden never said about the $1 billion. He's on tape saying it. I don't know who wrote that story. But he said, if you don't get rid of the prosecutor, you're not getting $1 billion. He said it. He's on tape. And they're trying to say that he never said it. The whole thing is crazy, okay?
You do notice
crazy.
That the Trump campaign Twitter account is locked as well.
Well, I haven't heard that. But if it is, it is. But it's going to all end up in a big lawsuit, and there are things that can happen that are very severe that I'd rather not see happen, but it's probably going to have to. It's out of control. And it's like a third arm, maybe a first arm, of the DNC. Twitter and Facebook, they're like really, it's a massive campaign contribution. This is a third arm of the DNC, the radical left movement. And that's the biggest problem our country has. It's not with the right, it's with the left. The radical left is the biggest. Antifa and that scum is the thing that's hurting our country. And not in Republican areas, by the way, with Republicans, but almost 25 out of 25 cities and states are run by radical left. Where they're run by radical left, those are your high crime. Whether it's New York, which has gone through the roof, the statistics that Cuomo is doing a job there, it's so bad. It's so bad. I think his political career has to be finished because you can't have numbers that he's putting up where certain types of crime are up 250%. And, you know, he's helped along by the mayor in all fairness. But, you know, the mayor, I guess he's going to go on to greener pastures pretty soon.
Are we going to see some more documents?
It's a very sad thing that happens to it.
Are we going to see some more documents coming out soon? We're told that you're going to declassify everything.
I'm declassifying everything, yeah. I'm declassifying. It's sort of amazing the way they don't want to release anything before the election because they don't want to interfere with the election. But with me, it was okay that they that they spied on my election, tried to overthrow the presidency. And despite that, I've done more in 3.5 years than any other presidency in the history of our country. And nobody even challenges me on that. But it's okay for me to have to be spied on and ripped off and defrauded by these thieves. But they don't want to affect the election because the Republicans play a very much nicer game. Look, we have some warriors, but we some great warriors, you know, Jim Jordan and some of them. But think of it, they don't want to affect the election, so let's wait till after. Well, some of the people that are running are very much implicated in the stuff they're looking at. So why should they get a free pass? Because it took too long to do the investigation. If you look at the Horowitz report, like 78 pages on Comey, who was a corrupt person, very corrupt. You look at the worst. I mean, they talk J. Edgar Hoover. This guy was worse, just not as smart. J. Edgar Hoover was smart. This one's a dummy. But if you look at Comey, and you look at what he did, so bad. He lied. He leaked. He lied before Congress. He lied before Senator Grassley in Congress. He got everything. And if you look at the Horowitz report, and I have a lot of respect for Horowitz. He was appointed by Obama, but I have a lot of respect for him. He did a report in Comey that was so bad that even the New York Times said, wow. They couldn't believe it. They wrote a thing on him. It was incredible. And they haven't pursued that. Now, why haven't they pursued it? I read that report. I don't get a chance to read too much of that because I'm reading a lot of other things, like we've rebuilt our military and we've done things that nobody, the biggest tax cuts ever, you know that better than anybody, biggest regulation cuts. I have a lot of things to do. But you know what? When you read that Comey report done by Inspector General Horowitz, it was so devastating. And we had that for a year, more than a year.
Okay.
Why didn't they do something about that?
Well, whilst we're talking
and even
about
the New York Times said it's one of the worst things they've ever read. You have to see in all fairness to the New York Times, you got to see what they wrote about it.
Okay.
And then they want to wait till after the election to be nice. It's a sad, it's very sad. Actually, it's pathetic.
Can we ask you about the tax cuts that you'd put in place
after
the election if you win? What kind of tax cuts would we get if you win, if you got a second term?
Okay, well, number one, Biden wants to increase your taxes, including the middle class, and he wants to get rid of the tax cuts that we've given to the middle class. And already you're talking about at minimum $2,000, and that doesn't include the $1,000 child tax credit. And it doesn't include energy, which is $3,000 or $4,000 a family, because if you play the energy game like they want to do, you're not going to have any. You're going to have brownouts like they have in California all over the country. You won't have gasoline for your car. And, they've got this thing. They'd like to go one car per family and make it all electric, and the whole thing is crazy. The whole thing is out of control. So we're now energy independent. But if you add energy to it, Stuart, you're talking about $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 per family that they've saved with me. And you see the numbers. I've done more in 3 years in terms of making a lot of money for people, middle-income people, than they've done in 8 years, many times that. And for African-American, for Hispanic-American, for Asian-American, nobody's ever done like we've done. And we've now got, in the world, we've got the fastest growing economy. We've been affected less by the pandemic than any other major country in the world.
Well, what middle class
you saw that number came out 2 days ago.
Which middle class?
And we're growing back faster. We're going back very fast. You're going to see some great numbers, I really predict. I don't know them, just so, I'll make that straight. I don't, but you're going to see some great numbers. I mean, predictions of 25% GDP increase. That was a Fed prediction. Think Atlanta. You're going to see some fantastic numbers. And we have the possibility of having a better year next year than we had last year, which was the best year we ever had.
Well,
so we have a lot of things, but if some guy that has no clue where he is, he's lost it totally.
Mr. President, can you tell us which taxes you would cut if you get a second term?
Middle income tax. We're talking about income taxes for the middle income people. May bring down the 21% down to 20, even number. But the big tax for me is going to be the middle income. And we've given that a lot. A lot of people, we didn't get enough credit for it, frankly, because we don't get enough credit for anything, frankly. We've done a great job in so many things, including COVID or the China virus, because what we've done has been incredible. And you'll see that very soon with the vaccines that are coming out. And you'll see it with Regeneron and, some of these drugs. We're going to be providing Regeneron all over the country very shortly at no cost.
At no cost. That's
at
Lilly's
no cost.
Product and Regeneron's
because it wasn't the
no
people's
cost.
fault that the plague came in. It was China's fault.
Okay.
They kept it from coming into China, from spreading in China. And
are we going to get a vaccine tested and distributed this year before Christmas, say?
Yes. And in fact, except for politics, I think it would have been even sooner than that. It would have been before the election, and it might still be a little bit. But no, there's a lot of politics. And with that, I'll say this. The FDA has approved things at a rate that nobody thought possible. This would be years before. Look how badly Biden handled. I mean, he was so bad in handling the swine flu, H1N1, which he reverses. He can't get it right. He can't remember that, I said, Joe, the H comes first before the N. But the H1N1 swine flu, and he was so bad, it was pathetic. His chief of staff said it was so badly handled, and it was much less lethal, much less lethal disease. But many, many, many people died that shouldn't have. He was so pathetic, and they said he was bad. And then this comes along, and he's trying to tell us what a wonderful job he'd do. He wouldn't have done a wonderful job because he wouldn't have done the ban on China. I did the ban months earlier. He ultimately admitted I was right, but that was months later. So, you know, we saved a lot of people. We would have lost 2.2. It was projected 2.2 million, and one person is too many. But let's say we're at 210,000, but we would have lost 2.2. It was projected at 2.2 million people.
Okay. Would you get a vaccine for every American by year end, or just essential workers? Who would get it first?
Well, I'd get it to essential workers and older people. I don't believe I'd ever do a mandated vaccine because I just don't think I I just don't think I would do that, where you have to have it, because there are some people feel very strongly about that whole situation. And we're going to have, there's like I have immunity now, and I don't know, I hear from anywhere from 4 months to a lifetime. It's sort of interesting. As soon as I beat it, they said, no, he's only immune for 4 months. I said, well, I was hurt for a lifetime, but that's okay. If it was anybody else, hey, Stuart, if it was you, they'd say, yeah, he's immune for his lifetime. But with me, they say 4 months. They want to make it look as bad as possible. Okay. I will say this, having gone through it, and, I'm the president of this country. I can't sit in a basement and not see anybody for a year. I just can't do that. So I was out and I was around and I had no choice. And I always said, this is risky. I'm out and it's risky. Every time you go into a room full of people, you say, I wonder if I caught it. And I was doing well. And then one day I got a positive reading, and positive in a negative sense, right? Sounds sort of strange, but positive in a negative sense. And I had it and didn't feel great. And I got it. Great doctors over at Walter Reed and Johns Hopkins. And one thing when you're president, you have no lack of doctors. I was surrounded. I had more doctors, more talent around that bed. But I beat it, and I beat it quickly. It went fast. And people are amazed because, I was in Pennsylvania, Florida. We had 41,000 people in Florida. We had a lot of people in Pennsylvania, like 25, 30,000. Last night, I was in Iowa, and it was incredible.
Well, a lot of people are criticizing you for
I
these
feel
rallies.
Very good.
A lot of people are criticizing you for these rallies. Huge crowds, thousands of people, pretty close together, not wearing masks. They're calling you a spreader. Not you, but the rallies, a spreader of the virus. How do you react to that?
Well, Joe doesn't have any rallies because nobody shows up to his rallies, so he doesn't have the same problem. But what I do is outside is a big thing. And if you look at those people, they really are wearing masks. I'll tell you, I looked last night in Iowa. There were many, many people wearing masks. But then you see CDC comes out with a statement that 85% of the people wearing masks catch it. Did you see that yesterday? They came out. What's that all about? And,
so you just want to open up, right? I mean, you don't want these restrictions.
Got to open up.
Open up as fast as possible.
Got to open
take
up.
the risk. You accept that there is risk.
Well, there's risk.
There's
a bigger risk if you close. Look, suicide, alcoholism, beatings. You take a look at what's going on with these where they closed up Michigan, how horrible it's been. The only one that was allowed to work in Michigan was her husband. He was allowed to go boating, right? The governor's husband. He was the only one allowed. He was the only guy that could do it. But you take a look at what happened in Michigan. Look at what's going on in these places. Look at New York, what they've done to New York. Everyone's leaving. They're all leaving. These lockdowns and the crime that it's caused. But you look at depression and you look at alcoholism, you look at drug use. And I said I think I was the first one. It just seemed to make sense. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself.
I'm a New Yorker now, and you're a New Yorker from way back. And we look outside the window of our studios here in Midtown Manhattan, and the place is deserted. We're not getting any theater back until June. The restaurants are closed and failing. When do you think New York City might return to the way it used to be? I mean, are we talking many, many years?
Well, a lot of people are leaving New York because Cuomo's done a terrible job with taxes. He's taxed everybody through the roof. And people are leaving because economically they can't stay. They can't stay. I mean, all you do in New York is you get taxed and you get investigated, and they take an investigation where you go through for years, and then they give it and you win in Washington and you win all over the place. Then they send the papers to New York. It's all politics. It's a disgrace. I'll tell you, New York's a disgrace. And that's a place that I love. But Cuomo's run it into the gutter.
But you do know that
he's done a terrible job. Look, I can rate the governors because ultimately, the governors are the ones that run. We got them the material, we got them the ventilators, which nobody else could have produced. We got them a lot of things, but I could tell you the governors that some governors did a great job and some governors didn't.
You do know that Joe Biden, if he wins the election, is reportedly considering Governor Cuomo to be Attorney General?
Well, that's fine. He let him pick whoever he wants. I mean,
And
he can pick
Elizabeth
whoever he
Warren
wants.
for Treasury Secretary?
Oh, you're going to have a group of beauties. Look what she did with the credit union. I mean, look what she did. She destroyed people. So you could just imagine. I'll tell you what, people better hope he doesn't win, because if he wins, first of all, he's going to have nothing to do with it because he's shot. He's mentally shot. Everybody knows it. And he's going to have nothing to do with it. It's going to be run by other people who are vicious and smart and radical left and Antifa.
When I walked in this morning, Mr. President, I saw the Wall Street Journal poll, which puts Joe Biden 11 points nationally ahead of you.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of people who are saying, look, they're not so much voting for Joe Biden as voting against you, because sometimes they don't like the language you use, they don't like your terminology, they don't like your tone. What do you say about that?
Well, the polls were wrong last time, and they're more wrong this time. Oh, these polls are much better than I had last time. Last time I was down in 9 states. I ended up winning all 9 of them. And, it's like he's going to lose this one, that one. I mean, we're up in Florida. We're up in Iowa. I think we're up in a lot of different places, Stuart, a lot of different places that I think we're doing great in Pennsylvania. We're doing great in North Carolina. We're doing really good in Michigan. No, we're doing great. I think we're going to have a big victory. It's the fake polls. They overpoll the Democrats. I mean, we had one poll like 22% more Democrats than Republicans. I said, what's that all about? They'll say Trump is 5 down, and then they put in the bottom. I think they have a legal requirement. That's why, because I don't even understand why they put it. But they'll say that they overpolled Democrats by 20-25%. And I say, what's that all about? So if you're 5 down, you're actually 10 up. But look, we won a last election, and this is easier because I've done so much. Nobody's done what we've done, Stuart, with the tax cuts and with the regulation cuts and rebuilt the military and choice for the vets and accountability for the vets, a 91% approval rating with the vets. Okay. Nobody's done what we've done, and we'll see. I mean, can only do what you can do. But there's never been an administration that's done so much so well.
Okay.
And the other administration was a corrupt administration. And you see that with Biden. I mean, he's getting a pass. If he had the same press that we have to go through, he'd be out of office. He would have never been vice president, frankly. But they don't. They protect him. I mean, think of it. A17 in the New York Times, and the story's all watered down.
The latest revelations
it's
from
really,
the New York...
the media in our country is the enemy of our people. Remember that. It's the enemy of our people.
The New York Post, the latest revelations that are out today, suggest that China provided a great deal of money to the Biden family. I think it's like $3 million. I think that's the number. Does that revelation and that charge, does that change our relationship with China? And does it change China if Joe Biden wins? Do they have something on Joe Biden that they can exploit?
Number one, yes. But more importantly, if China wins, because when he wins, China wins. So if China wins, I'll tell you what, they will own this country. You let Biden win, because that's a big win for China. That's all they want is for Biden to win. All they're focused on is Biden. And you can tell these clowns that are always looking and investigating and everything else, the ballots are a big problem for our country because they can be reproduced a lot easier than breaking into computer sites. The fake ballots that everybody is talking about all over the world, it's so crazy what's going on. I mean, every day, not a day goes by where you don't see large masses of ballots that are missing and fraudulently thrown away and found in garbage cans and dumpsters. I mean, look at what's going on.
When was the last time you talked to Xi Jinping?
I have not spoken to him in a while because I don't want to speak to him. And yet they're ordering, I have a trade deal, and the ink wasn't dry before this thing came in. And I haven't spoken to him a while, not looking to speak to him right now. And, we cut our deficit very substantially with them. Oh, we were getting ready to do the big thing, and then this came in. The plague came in from China. They could have stopped it, but the plague came in from China, and it changed things around, including a relationship.
And he's not reached out to you?
I don't want to comment on that, but they want to talk. Look, they made the biggest order of corn in history last week. They made the biggest order of soybean. I just left farm country. They love me. They love me. But the reason they did is because they know, and they think I'm going to win, by the way, just so you understand. But they'll do everything possible.
How do you know that they think you're going to win?
Because if Biden, I'll tell you, look, it's very simple. If Biden wins, China will own the United States. And I turned it all around, and you know that better than anybody. In 2019, if you go back 10 years, everybody projected 2019 the economy of China was going to be bigger than the U.S., except it didn't happen because I got elected, and I turned it the opposite way. We were picking up much more than them. And then I did the no dumping steel, and I did tariffs, and I did everything on them. No, they want Sleepy Joe to win. And if he does, if Sleepy Joe wins, China will own the United States.
Okay. You've got a town hall tonight with NBC.
I'm sure that'll be fair.
Well, how are you going to handle the likely hostility? And by the way, 100 NBC actors, producers, they're protesting the network's decision to host you at the town hall tonight.
Yeah.
They're going to be hostile. Well, will you have
the only thing is it's a different audience.
Will you have
the people of your audience, they like me.
I know, but will you have the same tone when you're faced with hostility? Will you have the same tone, the aggressive tone that you had in the first debate?
Well, you don't change. I think I won the first debate. According to most people, I won it. But then what happens is you have to understand, I was debating him, he's easy, and Chris Wallace. And every time I said something, like I said, why did the mayor of Moscow's wife give you $3.5 million? Chris Wallace didn't like the question. I said, why did you pay, with America money, why did you say you're not giving $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor from your son and your son's company? Chris Wallace wouldn't let him answer the question. He was choking. He couldn't have answered those questions.
Look,
Chris Wallace protected him.
In defense
so
of
I was
my
against.
colleague,
I lost a lot of respect for Chris Wallace. But I do love. I loved his father, and his father liked me.
In defense of Chris Wallace, my colleague, I would say that you didn't make his job any easier. You did interrupt a lot.
I did, because what Biden was saying was all false stuff. He was saying I said something on the graves of soldiers. Nobody respects the fallen soldier or the living soldier more than me. They made it up. It was an anonymous source. I had 25 people refute it. It didn't make any difference. And that's when I said that gloves have to come off anyway. So he was going through all these phony stories, just phony little... And I interrupted, because if you don't interrupt, people are going to believe it. So, it's just the way it is. Hey, look, I've had many people said I won it, but some people said I was rude, but you have to be rude. The guy's a liar. He's a liar, and he's a corrupt politician. Joe Biden is a totally corrupt politician. All you have to do is look at the Sun's server. I can't believe they found his laptop. It's incredible. But you don't even need that. You didn't need that. They would never question him on the $3.5 million from Moscow. Why did the kid get $3.5 million from Moscow? And then Russia gets Crimea, okay? That was during Obama. That wasn't during me. They get Crimea.
Do you think Hunter Biden will be brought up at the ABC town hall tonight with Joe Biden?
It's going to be very interesting to see, because I watched NBC, the way they handled Biden the other day. It was disgraceful. Lester Holt, it was like a child. They were the questions for a child. It was a disgrace, and they got killed for it. And they should, by the way, they should give me the same kind of questions. It won't happen, but you know what? They'll get badly mangled if they do anything else. But I felt, they asked me to do it. It's something I do, and it's a different audience. And that's good for me to have a different audience. Look, we produced the greatest stock market in history. We're going to produce it again. Okay? I mean, to think that we're over 28,000 and we're rounding the turn, and we are rounding the turn on the pandemic, by the way. Okay. But 28,000 plus, and, you're going to be at new highs very soon, in my opinion. And you're going to have an unbelievable third quarter and an unbelievable next year, except if he gets in and raises everybody's taxes by 4 times. You know, they're talking about quadrupling taxes. That will kill it. And all these companies are going to leave. You know, we took in tremendous numbers of companies came into the U.S. because our taxes were prohibitive. Just like New York, they're prohibitive. Cuomo raised the taxes too much. People are leaving.
The counter-argument, Mr. President, is that you can't, if Joe Biden wins, he can't raise taxes unless he's got a Democrat Senate. And the argument is
I'm assuming that if he wins, that could happen. By the way, he could get a Senate.
Yeah, he could get a Senate. If he wins, he might also start spending big time quickly as opposed to raising taxes later. And that would mean a real impetus for the economy, real stimulus for the economy. And so a lot of people on Wall Street think that might be okay.
Look, it doesn't matter what he said. He also said there's no more fracking. And the day after he won the nomination, he goes to Pennsylvania and says, I'll frack. That's another thing they never bring up. So you got 20 tapes of him saying there will not be fracking. You know, it's called Read My Lips, right? That's happened before. There will not be fracking, right? And then he wins it. He says there'll be fracking. He goes to Pennsylvania. The people of Pennsylvania are too smart. They don't believe him. And he doesn't. He's shot. He's mentally shot. So what happens is he's not calling the shots.
You know, there's a lot of people, Mr. President, who don't like it when you say that kind of thing. He's mentally
But I have to
shot.
tell the truth. We can't have a president who obviously isn't very sharp. And you know he never was in prime time. He never was. But we can't have that because we have a country, and we're trying to save our country. And we have a radical left that has him totally under control. And we're trying to save our country. So I can do it much nicer. I was a smart guy. But you got to make the point. And everybody knows it. And we can't be in a position where we have that. We don't have that luxury. He goes to his basement. He'll sit in his basement for 2 days, and he'll come up, and then he'll say a couple of words and read a book. I mean, I've never seen anything because I've dealt with reporters a long time, but they give him the questions, and he reads the answer off a computer to a reporter who I always assumed was, you know, even if they're not on my side, they were legit. He's getting questions, Stuart, and he's reading them off the computer, the answers, from a reporter, and you've seen it.
Do you expect to get an election result?
Most of the time. I've never seen anything like it.
Do you expect to get an election result on November the 3rd?
Well, it should be. We've won a lot of cases. You know, a lot of the cases that we've won have been they have to give you the result.
It seems we had some where you had
to put in your votes a week later, and then you get the results 2 weeks later. That means you can never. You know, it'll be weeks before you find out after November 3rd. No, we've won a lot of cases where the November 3rd is becoming a very important date.
Okay. Under what circumstances would you concede the election?
All I want is a fair election.
So it's your judgment as to whether it's fair or not, as to whether you will concede.
Stuart, they always talk about the friendly transition. They spied on my campaign and they got caught. They tried to overthrow the President of the United States and they got caught. And then they stand up so innocent and they say, will you, do a fair transition? Well, they didn't do a fair transition. They spied on my campaign long before I won because they thought I was going to win.
Well, you're implying that if you don't think it's fair, you won't leave the White House, which means you won't concede.
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying this. I think everybody says it. You have to have a fair election. Look at these ballots that are being messed around. Tens of thousands of ballots are already fraudulent. I want to see a fair election. That's all I'm asking for is a fair election. And that's it. But, when they talk about a friendly transition, they spied on my campaign and they tried to terminate with crooks and thieves. Like, you take a look at a guy like Director Comey. He was a very dishonest person.
If it wasn't a friendly transition when you walked into the White House, does that mean that you're not going to allow a friendly transition if Joe Biden walks into the White House?
No, it doesn't mean anything, except it means that people broke the law, people spied on my campaign, And they act so innocent, like it never happened. Oh, gee, we didn't do that. But then they did it, and we have all the emails. We have so much evidence. But we have nice people. They want to have the election. Well, you know, shouldn't interfere with the election. But nobody minded when they interfered with my election that I won, but nobody minded then. So it's a very interesting period of time. I think we're doing really well. We're doing well in states that I'm not even sure people know it. You know, I think we're doing really very well.
Mr. President,
it's going to be an interesting
as you know,
20 days.
This is a financial program, as you know. So may I wrap it up on a financial note?
Sure.
You came into this interview saying, yes, you're prepared to go higher than $1.8 trillion.
Correct.
You don't expect a phone call from Speaker Pelosi, but you would go higher. How much higher would you go?
And the Republicans will too. Because we like stimulus, we want stimulus, and we think we should have stimulus because it was China's fault. It was not the American workers' fault or the American people.
So why not just go with Speaker Pelosi's $2.2 trillion deal?
Because she's asking for all sorts of goodies. She wants to bail out badly run Democrat states and cities. She wants money for things that you would never, you just couldn't, just your pride couldn't let it happen.
So what would you spend extra money on? If you want to up your offer above $1.8 trillion, what would that extra money go to?
It would go to the worker. It would go to the people, directly to the people, so they can live nicely and their lives won't be shattered because of China.
Okay. Have you told Secretary Mnuchin to get out there and offer more than $1.8 trillion?
I've told him. So far, he hasn't come home with the bacon.
Okay. Mr. President, I know you've got to get on Air Force One and go to Florida shortly.
I do.
So we do appreciate you being with us, sir, always, and thank you very much for doing it. Thank you, sir.
I think you have a great show, Stuart. I really do. I like your show a lot. I like you a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. See you again soon. Thank you. All right. That concludes it.